Hi class, we've made it to chapter 10, um, the last week of chapters. Chapter 10, we're going to be talking about a very applicable and interesting topic, not only to students, but to every single person around the world. We're going to be talking about money, definitely more as it applies to you in student life and how you can learn to manage your money in terms of being a successful student and outside from school as well. But we are going to be talking about one of those topics that seems that is a topic of conversation almost every single day, whether you're struggling with your finances or you have your finances in order, but you definitely might want to invest. So definitely people were never completely 100% satisfied with money, whether lack of or have enough, you still want to make more. Let's talk about some of the relevant aspects of utilizing money and how it applies to college life and student life. As with every chapter, we're going to begin with a quote. This is a quote by Colin Wright. Chase your passions and money will come. Chase money and you may never find your passions. I feel that this is something I try to convey to my students when we are discussing major and career selection. In terms of my life outside of instruction, in terms of counseling, there are times when I come across students that just come into my counseling office wanting to ask me about careers that are right now employable and making money. The only thing that they're looking for is for job security and money to feed their families, which is understandable. But the other side of it is that they might be unhappy performing these tasks. And this is when a job becomes a job as opposed to a career. I try to tell my students to, as much as they can, within the reality that they have and the responsibilities that they have in the moment, to chase their passions, and eventually money will come. When you only chase money, you may end up never really finding what your passions are. Something to keep in mind. Definitely every person has a different point in their lives where this might be more applicable than in others, and it is part of your own personal growth discovery journey to acknowledge that and discover that. But if we can start with all those of you who might be beginning their careers at Mesa College within this semester, I would invite you to explore your passions more than just the mere desire for money. Let's talk about what we will be covering in this chapter. We're going to be talking about the end of money worries, making more money, spending less money, managing money during tough times, taking charge of your credit, education is worth it and you can pay for it, your learning styles and your money and your values. Some of you might be more knowledgeable about the ways to handle money simply because you might be living on your own, or you might be living on your own since a long time, and that has made you aware and has forced you to be more knowledgeable about money. Some of you might have your finances controlled by your parents still. It really just depends on where you're at your life right now, but we all are going to be coming across situations in our lives where money will be a necessity more than just something that will take us across and reduce problems in our lives. And there are going to be times in our lives where money will just happen to be there and we might not have to worry too much about it. But it doesn't hurt to learn how to manage money from a student standpoint. As you're going through your courses and you might take a class on business communications or business statistics, or personal finances, which is Business 120 at Mesa College, you might learn more. This is just an introduction chapter on how we can manage our money. Let's talk about with every aspect of every chapter we've been talking about during this semester, the why, the how, the what, and the what if. The why we talk about money and personal growth is because money can stop being a barrier to getting what you want from school and from your life. At some point, money is the sole factor why students don't attend college, because there are other necessities in life that are more relevant than attending courses where you see the gain very far away than what you need in the moment, which is money to pay bills, for food, for housing, for gas, etc. It is an important chapter because it's one of those that are very relevant to students in college life, especially those that might not be living with their parents anymore. The how, as with every chapter, I want you to skim for 3 techniques that you like to try this week or this month or this semester. And let's envision the what if. What if I could adopt habits that would free me from money worries for the rest of my life? That would definitely, I feel, would be the goal for most of us. We don't want to be worried about where money is coming from or how to pay the bills. That way we can enjoy life. So step by step with this chapter, with some introductory aspects, you're going to be learning how to manage your money a bit more than hopefully before you began this class. Let's talk about the end of money worries. The end of money worries. If you do these 3 things consistently, you can eventually say goodbye to most money worries. This is what we're talking about in front of you in the screen. For example, the simple habit of paying off your entire credit card balance at the end of the month might be enough to transform your financial life. Most money problems result from spending more than is available. The solution is simple. Don't spend more than you have. If you're spending more, then increase your income, decrease your spending, or both. People who earn more still say it is not enough. Money worries can upset us no matter how much we have, and students often say, I can't afford it. Why don't you change that into, I don't know how to pay for it? There are 3 main steps to money management. If you do these 3 things consistently, you can eventually say goodbye to most money worries. First, tell the truth about how much money you have and how much you spend. This is the discovery step. Second, commit to spending less than you have. This is the intention step. And finally, apply these suggestions for earning more money, spending less money, or both. This is the action step. Again, if you do these 3 things consistently, you can eventually say goodbye to most money worries. So first, right now, wherever you're at in your finances in your life, tell the truth about how much money you have, how much money you earn, let's say per month, and how much you spend. Discover that aspect of your life. Second, commit to spending less than you have. Intentionally, make an intention. Make a decided step to not spend more than what you have. So commit to spending less than what you have. Finally, apply the suggestions for how to earn more money and spending less money, or both. So take action. Maybe you want to try this week, this month, after the summer's over, making an intention for your fall semester or your first spring semester. Make an intention and try these steps out for money management. They might be working out for you at the end. Let's talk about making more money, which is sometimes something that's very difficult for us. For most people, finding a way to make more income is the most appealing way to fix money problems. This approach is reasonable, but with a slight detail. For most people, when the income increases, many people continue to spend more than they make. This means that money problems persist even with higher incomes. To avoid this, you need to manage your expenses no matter how much you make, whether it's a lot or whether it's not enough. It will always be enough if you know how to manage your money. Focus on your education. Your most important assets are not your bank accounts, your car, or your house. They are your skills. That's why education is so important. Right now, you're developing your knowledge, your experience, and abilities that you can use to create income for the rest of your life. Once you graduate and find a job in the career you chose, look for more certifications or more skills that lead to higher earnings and more fulfilling job assignments. Technically and typically, as you grow up in the ladder of careers, you will find that your passions mirror your career more than just employment for money. Consider financial aid. Student grants and loans can play a major role in your success in college by freeing you up from having to work full-time or even part-time. Students in the Promise program right now at Mesa College are getting their tuition paid by the college. They're attending college for free. With financial aid, be careful though with loans and get educated on how loans work. Visit the financial aid office at your college, at Mesa College on the first floor of Student Services. Yes, submit your FAFSA if you're an American citizen, or if you classify under AB 540, submit a California Dream Act. But ask the financial aid office how those finances will work and if you need to pay anything back and at what point. Work while you are in school. If you work while you are in school, you earn more than money. You gain experience. You establish references. You network with people who can possibly impact your future by writing you letters of recommendation. Also, having regular income can help you manage your finances better. If you work and study, it does not have to conflict, but you do have to have a plan and you have to plan ahead. Consider internships as well. Although most are not paid, they can potentially lead to a paid position in the career you want to do. Look at your campus's career center for possible jobs on campus. Mesa campus has opportunities for students to work on campus, whether they are as a student worker in any of the student services facilities, or whether they are at one of our newest areas for a food pantry and a clothing pantry for students in the student services building on the second floor. Make sure you inquire about these opportunities. And the last thing, do your best at every job. Once you get a job, be an excellent employee. If you excel, it can potentially lead to a higher job within the same company you're working for, or recommendations and more contacts. The value of employment while in school is definitely greater if you take advantage of it. Let's talk about spending less money, which for some of us could be a difficult task. Controlling your expenses is something that you can do right away, and it's usually easier than increasing your income. Let's talk about some tips for spending less money. Look to big ticket items. When you're looking at items to cut from things you're spending on, start with the ones that cost the most. Housing costs can be lessened the greatest if you live further away from campus at times, or if you find a roommate. Another high ticket item is a car. Maybe using the bus or walking to school more frequently might be less expensive for you, or on occasions use public transportation or carpool. Something to consider, right? Look for small ticket items. Example, $3 a day for coffee for your Starbucks. Stop this habit for a month and see how much money you have left over if you're not buying your $3 Starbucks every day that you're on campus. Ask for student discounts all the time for museums, for movie theaters, for the zoo, for restaurants, bars. Sometimes discounts just happen just because you're a student. And some stores actually give you discounts just by the mere fact of being a student. Consider the craft store Michaels. They usually have educator and student discounts for students in terms of buying crafts that you need for school. Do comparison shopping. Now with social media, there are all these apps that can compare different store items for different stores. It could be markets, it could be clothing. So use these apps. You that are in the tech savvy area and you're always on your smartphones, look for these apps to shop around. Look at ads. Wait for off-season sales. They tend to be the best at the end of the season. Almost all clothing and shoes go on sale, and that's when you can purchase items and maybe save them for next year. Use coupons and possibly use stores like TJ Maxx, Ross, or buy it bulk at stores like Costco. That would help you out in your expenses. Be aware of quality as well, though. The cheapest product is not always the least expensive over the long run. Sometimes a more expensive item is best, so carefully inspect the items. Save money on eating and drinking. Instead of going to a restaurant or a bar, consider going to the grocery store. Maybe get a shopper's card for rewards and discounts and use coupons, like the Just For You option advance. Cook more and you will definitely save more money. And if you live in a dorm, use the meal plans. Try whenever possible to lower your phone bills. Maybe ask for a cheaper plan or maybe change providers and compare plans online. Going green is something that's not only trendy, it's something that also works. Turn off the lights when you're not using them. Consider going to install LED bulbs. Unplug appliances that are not in use and use power strips so that you can plug a computer while you sleep. It's very convenient for some to just pay cash. This is a great way to avoid any interest charges. Use cash or pay off with cash right away if you are going to use your credit card. And if you don't have cash, one rule is not to buy it. Buying on credit makes it more difficult to monitor your spending afterwards, and your bill can increase without you actively knowing that it did. Postponing purchases. Buy when you are ready and possibly after doing some research off the market. Black Friday, holiday sales and special day sales, memorial sales, Veterans Day sales, etc. Notice what you spend on fun. You can read magazines for free at the library. You can also ask to loan DVDs and CDs. You don't have to right away go for opening day for a movie, or if not, go on student days when it's more cost effective. Use the envelope system. You can put money aside, say for entertainment or eating out. And if it's empty, then you don't spend on those items on that particular week. This is a technique that works really well for some people. And also don't compare yourself to others. If others spend while you're going out with them, you do not need to do it as well. Every person has a reason for spending. Maybe parents support a lot, or maybe they're just charging it all. If they're pressuring you, maybe it's time for new friends. Don't feel pressured into spending. Use the money you save to prepare for emergencies or reduce your debt. And spending less, feel the power of spending less and managing your own finances. You will feel more liberated if you take control over your finances. Let's talk about managing money during tough times. This is definitely something that at times can be emotionally draining, because during difficult economic times, managing money becomes even more challenging. Going back to school might also increase your expenses. The biggest factor in your long-term financial well-being is your daily behavior, what daily activities and tasks you take on to manage your money. Some tips on how to manage your money during tough times. Take a first step and make sure that you know how you're spending your money adequately. Spend less to save more. Make sure that your savings are protected. And look at the bullets in front of you. They are directly from pages 307 to 308 of the 15th edition. Let's browse through some of these. They might be very straightforward to you. For some of you, they might not be as much. Maybe you haven't had the opportunity to manage your own money during tough times. But making a list of strategies that you have tried, start those that have worked for you. Make another list of new strategies that you intend to implement later on. Take a first step and try one of those out. Spend less, save more. Make sure your savings are protected. Pay off credit cards. Invest only after you have savings. Do stellar work at your current job because it might lead to a promotion. Think about your next job that might have a higher salary placement. Research any unemployment benefits that your job might have. Get health insurance if possible. Get help from people that you can trust. Put your plan in writing. For a lot of people, it helps to have a plan in writing, let's say in their refrigerator, let's say on a board of their daily to-do lists. Sometimes when you put it in writing, it makes it more real for some people, and you could actually refer back to the plan that's in front of you when you might not feel that you're going to actually go through with it. It'll make you be accountable. Try to cope with stress in a positive way if managing money is becoming harder. And choose your money conversations with people who can actually help you. There are people who actually just want to maybe hear about your problems and might not want to help you out in the best way. Choose to disclose your money conversations with people who will actually support you and lend you a hand. We've all gone through times where managing money can be tough, and there might be more coming in the future in your life. You never know. Having some clear steps, starting on them as a student, will help you out in life when you are no longer a student and now you're responsible possibly for more people. Let's talk about taking charge of your credit. Most students, I do advise taking a class called Business 120 at Mesa College, Managing Your Personal Finances, where actual experts can talk to you about your finances, what the credit score means, etc. But let's just talk about quickly how to use credit cards with caution. Credit cards are a great asset to have and they can come with great rewards, but you also have to be cautious. Let's talk about tips for using credit cards with caution. Paying off the balance each month. An unpaid credit card balance is a sure sign that you're spending more than what you have. And we might all be guilty of this, but I want you to be aware that this is a clear sign that you might be spending more than what you have. To avoid this outcome, keep track of how much you spend with credit cards each month and pay off the card balances if possible each month on time to avoid late charges. Also, scrutinize your card offers. You definitely get, the moment you're 18, a lot of credit cards offers from different companies. Find a card with lower interest rate can make an actual really dramatic difference on how you're utilizing your money. Example, if you have a 800 balance on a card with a 16% APR, your interest charges would be $1,280 per year. If you had a card with 4.6%, then your annual interest charges would be $392. So shop around. Don't get the first card that's offered to you. You might get a card with an offer of lower interest for a certain amount of months, but then it'll go up. And so make sure that you know what that percentage will be when the card percentage goes up after the limit of time. Check your statements regularly. Make sure there are no charges that were not made by you. Try to use just one credit card. Get a copy of your credit report and stay on top of it. And protect your credit score. When you apply for a loan, the first thing they check is your credit score. Possibly the older students in the class won't let me lie about this. That when you apply for a loan, the first thing the bank or whoever checks for is your credit score. And the higher your score, the more money you can borrow with a lower interest rate. Definitely something to consider as you're browsing for apartments or homes or something that the majority of students all want when they're in college, a car or a motorcycle.
Many students have to borrow student loans to get through college, and there are some people that say this is good debt, and I'd agree with that. This is good debt. It's going to cost you money to get through college. The studies are all over the board, whether it's the average college student graduates with $20,000 or $25,000. But what students don't realize is that, let's say $25,000 student loan debt, it's going to be set up for you to pay back for 10 years. And if that's a subsidized loan from the government, not a private loan, a subsidized loan from the government at 6.5%, that's going to be about $300 a month for 10 years that you have to pay back.
That is definitely something that I want you to be more knowledgeable about, especially you guys that might be considering to, let's say, transferring to a private school or out of state where the tuition might be higher than a public institution. Consider what type of loans you're going to get. Talk to your financial advisor, talk to the financial aid office, take charge of your credit. Let's talk about some steps that are definitely bullet points from your slide. Borrow money only when truly necessary. That is definitely a golden rule that you want to apply to your life. Try to make all your payments on time to avoid late fees and to avoid a cycle of not being able to pay off your card. To protect your credit score, pay all bills on time. Hold on to credit cards that you have had for a long time. Make sure you don't close accounts that have been around for a long time. Avoid applying for new cards without actually inspecting them. Try to avoid whenever possible any of those credit cards that come with a particular store, such as Victoria's Secret or stores that tend to offer you a credit card but you don't utilize them that often. Your percentage could be higher. Pay off credit card balances every month. If you can't pay them off, then pay as much as you can above the minimum payment. Never charge more than your limit, and avoid using a credit card as a source of cash. Charge cards and other forms of credit can be traps that companies use against money-needy college students. Use credit to your advantage by taking charge of it. A good credit rating will serve you for a lifetime. With this asset, you will be able to borrow money anytime you need it. A poor credit, however, can keep you from getting a car or a house in the future. To take charge of your credit, as we said in the first bullet, borrow only when truly necessary, and if you're going to borrow, make the payments on time. Again, whenever possible, take a class on personal finances, talk to the financial aid office, get informed, talk to people who can actually give you advice on adequate finance planning. Let's continue with the subject of taking charge of your credit, managing student loans. Student loans are tricky. I have a medical doctor friend who is now practicing. Obviously, she has her own doctor's office. She is doing well. However, because of medical school, she owes around $100,000 in student loans. So the income is never fully hers. However, she couldn't have become a doctor without it. Let's talk about some tools that you can use so that you don't lose control when you get a student loan. Choose schools with low costs in mind. If you transfer, make sure it is to a school that is cost effective. Ask for financial aid and get good grades so that you can apply for scholarships. That is a key thing for me to tell you as a counselor. Get good grades so you can transfer to the school you want that might have a low cost, and get good grades so that you can also apply for scholarships and possibly graduate debt-free, let's say at least from your undergraduate degree. Avoid debt when possible. Borrow only the amount that you cannot get from any other source. Maybe you can't get it from scholarships, nor grants, nor employment, nor savings. So only borrow when you have to. Shop carefully for loans. Go to the financial aid office, at Mesa College, and ask whether you can get a Stafford loan. These loans are fixed rate, low interest loans from the federal government. If you qualify for a subsidized loan, the government pays the interest due while you're in school. Always ask your financial aid office what the interest will be afterwards, the timeline, how many years, if you can avoid loans, and also if you have to take out a loan, repay it. Make all the payments when they are due each month and don't wait until you find a job. Make sure you're knowledgeable before taking on a loan. That's the take-home message. Even myself as an instructor, I'm not 100% a financial advisor, so we can talk about some tools and some skills in order to help you get charge of your credit. But ultimately, you want to go to the source, to the financial aid office, to financial advisors to actually help you out managing your finances. Talk to a professor that teaches business economics or personal finances, maybe during office hours, to see if they can help you manage your finances better if you don't have anybody else in your life that can help you.
My dad, he's made me practice and kind of watch and budget my money and what I'm doing, and he makes me come out with a budget or plan for each month.
I tend to shop on impulse. If I'm upset, I buy myself something. My wife is the one that's real good at watching a dollar, taking care of the budget.
How am I managing my money? Well, I don't know.
We make money complicated, and it's really not that hard. And managing our money is a process of just keeping track of it, figuring out how much you spend and, of course, how much you make. And most people don't take the time to look at it that carefully. So there are many techniques and strategies for ways that all of us can manage that money and really be responsible for it and take it out of something that's complicated and having it be something that's much simpler. You don't.
My dad, he's made me like practice and kind of watch and budget my money and what I'm doing, and he.
After viewing the video and listening to it, there might be some of us, like the gentleman in the video saying that he buys on impulse. That might be something that you need to actually be aware of. Do you buy on impulse? Because it could also damage you greatly if you're just buying for the mere fact of buying something without actually needing it. Many students wonder whether their investment of time and money into higher education is worth it, whether it will pay off or not. There are several benefits of higher education. If you go through higher education, as you're starting to right now, there is a greater likelihood of health insurance in the future to take care of your health. There will come higher income, more than likely, with more college education, even further on. There is also the outcome of lower dependence on income support services. There is greater likelihood for employment in something that you actually feel passionate about, higher tax revenues for your community, and ultimately higher job satisfaction and satisfaction with what you're contributing to society and to your own personal life every day. So education pays off. Ultimately, for some of you, you might see it closer to when you're at the end than when you're beginning college. Take every class, learn from it, and only take from every class what you actually want to apply to your life. I realize that going through these 12 chapters, you might not remember everything, and you might not refer back to everything we spoke about and learned during this class, but something from the 12 chapters you might actually really like and you might take onto your life. Do the same practice for every class you take, whether that's English or mathematics or health class or business class or art class. Take with you something that you can apply to your own personal life, but also to your professional life. Let's talk about your learning styles and money. So we're now going to go back to chapter 1. Remember how we talked about the different learning styles? Everyone treats money differently. What we save and how we use money varies from person to person. There are different ways that people spend and earn money, and these correlate with the learning styles that we learned about in chapter 1. Some people buy quickly once they find a product of service that connects to something they really care about. This is the doing. Others take the time to shop around and compare prices before they spend. That's the watching. Some people are curious about how the stock and bond markets work and will take time to analyze the field. That's the thinking. Others want to jump right in and experiment with ways to make more money. That's the feeling. Recognizing these differences can help prevent and solve conflict that centers on money. You do remember these 4 learning styles, right? The doing, the watching, the thinking, and the feeling from the discovery wheel. So again, some people buy quickly once they find a product or service that really is something that they care deeply about, and that's the doing. Others take time to shop around and compare before they spend. That's the watching. Some people are curious about how the stock and bond markets work and how they're going to analyze the field. That's the thinking. And others want to jump right in and experiment with ways to make more money. That's the feeling. When you think about spending more money, ask yourself these questions. Why am I considering spending this money? We buy when we see something to be gained, most of the time, right? It can be small. So maybe you buy a water at a Padres game for $8 because you're thirsty. Or it can be something big, spending thousands on a car for convenience and mobility. But before you spend, be clear on what you want to gain. What are the facts I need to know? The car example, let's go back to that. How much will it cost beyond the sticker price? If you are buying the car with a loan, then consider that as well. How would this purchase affect my life? Like renting a home could tie into higher payments and maybe buying a home. Make sure that the purpose outweighs the resource. And what if I could get the same benefit without spending the money? Let's say that you buy the water at the ballpark, but maybe next time you bring your own water and don't spend the $8, and you will still quench your thirst if you bring water from home. Before making a purchase, consider these 4 questions: the why, the what, the how, and the what if. As with every single chapter that we're talking about in this personal growth class, always consider the why. Am I doing it? What's the reason behind me doing it? How will this affect, or how will I do this? And what if it could be done in a different way? Let's talk about your money, your values. If you want a clue into your values, look at the way you handle your money. The amount you spend on fast food shows how much you value convenience. The amount you spend on clothes say how much you value appearance. But every time you spend money on something, your values are at work. Think of values as having 2 aspects. One is invisible, a belief of what matters most in your life. Suppose that you want to start dating. Why do you want that? Perhaps you want someone to listen to you. Why do you want that? And you say, well, I want it because I want it. To you, love is an end of itself. You want love simply for its own sake. Then love is a value of yours. The second aspect of any value is behavior. If you value love, you will take action to meet new people, to find that special someone. One way to align your behaviors with your beliefs is to ask one question whenever you spend money. Is this expense consistent with my values? Whenever you're considering spending money, consider the belief about what matters most in your life and apply that with your behavior. And ask yourself, is this expense consistent with my values? This is the last slide from this chapter presentation. I want you to take this information in front of you and think about what you're spending your money on. Is it spending it on your values? Do they mirror your values? It can be spending a lot of money on a car, a very expensive car. It could be spending money on food. Do you have a higher value for food that you have for a car? What does the car bring to your life? What does the food bring to your life? Are you spending a lot of money on somebody else? Is this because of money? You want to be seen with this person? Is this because of social recognition? Consider your behaviors, consider your beliefs, and question yourself how you're spending your money in terms of mirroring either your beliefs or your behaviors. Consider your values. I'll see you all in the next chapter.